أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي ليس لأوليته ابتداء ولا لأزليته انقضاء، وانحصرت الأوصاف عن كنه معرفته وردعت عظمته العقول، والذي لا تواري عنه سماء ولا أرض أرضا. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيد الأضحى سيد المرسلين والأنبياء أبي القاسم محمد المصطفى، وعلى الجوهرة القدسية البتول العذراء سيدة النساء فاطمة الزهراء، وعلى بعلها أمير المؤمنين وبنيها الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا، لا سيما على بقية الله وحجته الكبرى الذي بيمنه رزق الورى وبوجوده ثبتت الأرض والسماء، ولولاه لساخت الأرض بأهلها، واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من حين عداوتهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة. Best of my greetings to my respectable Jewish and Christian audience, and assalamu alaikum to all of my respectable Muslim brothers and sisters. We send the peace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on all of his prophets, starting from Prophet Adam, Prophet Abraham, Noah, Moses, Jesus, all the rest of the prophets of God, specifically the seal of all the messengers and prophets, our holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It is important to understand that the meaning of the religion Islam is widely misunderstood, just like the teachings of Islam have been widely misinterpreted. It is important to understand the true meaning of Islam so that we can move forward towards the contents of this religion. And likewise, it is important for a person to understand why does the world, the human being, stand in need of a religion to lead his or her life, despite the fact that all of us have been created with intellect and the instinct, which are part of our creation. So I would like to shed some light on this as a prelude to my discussion, so that we understand why we stand in need of a religion and who has the right to formulate and legislate the laws of a religion. And then we can understand what the prophets of God has brought for the guidance of humanity, brought for us. And then we can empower ourselves in a better way to understand the final message of the final messenger, who is the seal of all the messengers, which has been sent down, like what we learn in the light of this verse of Holy Quran, which I recited in the beginning of my speech from Surah Ahzab, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that certainly in the Prophet of Allah, certainly in the Messenger of Allah lies a role model for you. So we can understand and realize the highness why the highness of the spirituality of the Holy Prophet and why he has been made a role model for us. The religion Islam, the word Islam is defined as al-Islamu wa al-Taslim. We find the hadith has said very clearly that لَأَنْسِبَنَّ الْإِسْلَامَ نِسْبَةً Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam said, I'm going to define Islam in a way that no one has ever defined it before me and no one is going to define it after me except if someone defines it exactly the way I'm doing. And then he said al-Islamu huwa al-Taslim. وَالتَّسْلِيمُ هُوَ التَّصْدِيقُ وَالتَّصْدِيقُ هُوَ الْيَقِينُ وَالْيَقِينُ هُوَ الْأَدَاءُ وَالْأَدَاءُ هُوَ الْعَمَلُ إِنَّ الْمُؤْمِنَ أَخَذَ دِينَهُ عَنْ رَبِّهِ وَلَمْ يَأْخُذْهُ عَنْ رَأْيِهِ. Islam is the essence of submission. Essence of submission towards truth, haqq, righteousness, the command of the Lord. And as soon as we have this essence of submission towards the command of our Creator, whatever is haqq, quote unquote, righteousness and true, we will certainly end up having, we will certify everything that has been told, التسليم والتصديق والتصديق واليقين, and our certification, our certifying of those teachings will lead us towards certitude and yaqeen and itminan and peace in the soul, because the hometown of peace is the soul, just like the hometown of pain is the soul. And the body of a human is lying there. When a person passes away, he feels no pain and he feels no happiness because the soul has already departed. Isn't that right? So when we talk about peace, when we talk about happiness, when we talk about itminan and certitude, we are talking about everything related to the soul of a human being, which is invisible. So when we have this yaqeen in the qalb and certitude in the soul, it will lead us towards ada and performance. And ada is nothing but amal, actions. Practically we need to take steps. Because at the end of the hadith, he said, إِنَّ الْمُؤْمِنْ أَخَذَ دِينَهُ عَنْ رَبِّهِ. A believer, the believer takes his religion from his Lord, وَلَمْ يَأْخُذْهُ عَنْ رَأْيِهِ, and he does not take the religion from his opinion. So, this is what Islam is. Islam is a religion that is asking the believers, the men of conscience and reason, to believe in what their Lord has said and submit to what He has said. And since Allah, our Lord, when He created the angels, He provided to them, nothing except nur and divine light. They are created from the divine light and nur. That's why the angels can never think of sinning, because they don't have any incentive to do a sin. We do sins because of our desires. They don't have the desires in them. So all they have is nothing but nur and divine light, which always takes a person towards divine obedience and submission. And Allah, God, created the animals and provided into them nothing but desires, lusts, shahawat. And that's the reason why we understand that the animals can think of nothing but their sexual reproduction and to fill up their stomachs. That's the farthest they can do. So because they don't have the nur and divine light provided to them. And then the hadith is informing us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the human being and provided aql, that means the intellect, and shahwat, which means the desires. So we have both of the things provided in our existence by virtue of our creation. So those are the human beings who give preference to their intellect and start obeying Allah by submitting to what God has said, will elevate themselves to become higher than the angels. Angels, if they obey God, there's no praise for them because they have no other option. All they have is the divine light. They don't have the desires, so they cannot do anything wrong. They cannot go astray. So if they do good, they have no praise either. Just like you tie up the hands of a person and you put $1 million in front of him, and you come back after an hour and say, this guy is very pious and noble and law-abiding person, see, he did not steal. Well, you tie up his hands and feet, he could do nothing. So there is no test, because you didn't give him the right to do the sin. So angels have no praise if they are obeying God, because they don't have the desires. So if a human being, despite the fact that he has the desires, but he gives preference to his intellect over his desires and feelings and lusts, he becomes superior to the angels. And if a human being gives preference to his desires over his intellect and aql, he becomes inferior and worse than the animals who cannot do that sort of obedience and cannot comprehend at all. They do have some level of obedience, let's be very clear, but that's a very, very inferior level of obedience. Everything in the universe is obedient to God. The Quran has already said, إِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا يُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِهِ. Everything is doing the tasbih, is glorifying its Lord. وَلَكِنْ لَا تَفْقَهُونَ تَسْبِيحَهُم. But you guys don't understand their tasbih. So we understand that just because we could not comprehend what these plantations and water and rocks and soil and clouds and mountains and everything around us is doing the tasbih of Allah, is glorifying the praise of the Lord, just because we fail to understand and comprehend, that doesn't give us a license to challenge or denounce or deny that they are not obedient to God. Every single existence in the universe is perfectly obedient to God, but that's a very low level of obedience. That's not what we were talking about moments ago. We are talking about, the obedience which is belonging to the high level of human intellect, because they don't have that high level of intellect in their existence, so that high level of obedience cannot be found, cannot be performed by the animals. Human is a component of a body and a soul. Soul is superior to the body for several reasons, and soul can survive and will survive forever. The body will be decaying in our graves after a few years, except for those who are pious. Earth can never decay their body in the graves. So, because we human beings have a component called soul in our existence, which with the hometown of this soul, the watan of this soul is Alam al-Tajarrud, the world of divine light, the unseeable world, Alam al-Ghayb. So since the hometown of this soul is the unseeable world, if we need to provide satisfaction and peace to our souls, we must treat our souls with teachings belonging to the unseeable world, which is Alam al-Tajarrud, because that's where the hometown of the soul is. So whatever, things that are belonging to this world, how much money you can make, what sort of car you can drive, what sort of house you live in, it's nothing to do with your soul, because these are all material things, and it's not compatible, it's not soul friendly. So it doesn't belong to this Alamul Mulk, how in Islamic philosophy we call it, the world of matter. It doesn't belong to this world. So it's not matter-friendly creature that you can earn more material things and still try to provide satisfaction and peace to your soul. Since we have a soul which is eternal, so we must provide teachings belonging to the hometown of the soul, which is the metaphysical world, Alam al-Tajarrud, non-material world of Nur, of divine light. And that's where the role of the prophets comes in, because we do not, as human beings, do not have access to the unseeable world. So we need people who serve as liaisons between the humankind and the unseeable world, to bring those teachings that can serve our spirituality and make us spiritually perfect, so that we can achieve Nuraniyat, that means the divine light in our qalb, in our soul. That's the entire purpose of all the prophets of God. And there are, in Islam, we strongly believe that we stand in need of all the prophets of God because we do not know our past, we have no clue about our future. And when we are such existences who have no clue about our past, and we don't know nothing about our future, and second of all, we are fallible, we make mistakes, and third of all, any law that we can devise, that we can legislate, will be unable to provide salvation and eternal success for our souls, because we have no clue what the soul is. When you don't know something, how can you make a law for something you don't know? What benefits the soul and what harms the soul? There is no institution, academic institution on the planet Earth, or no human being on the planet Earth who can dare tell you anything about your soul. Because no one has seen the soul, no one knows what benefits it, and no one knows what harms it. So that's precisely why, one of those reasons why we stand in need of the prophets of God. And that's why in Islam we believe that legislation of a law, haqqut tashri', how we call it in the terminology, the legislation of a law is something which is with Allah only, because He's our creator. No one can legislate a law for the humans except our creator. Whatever laws we make will be always vulnerable to amendments and changes, because our interests keep on changing, our information keeps on updating, we are ignorance as compared to the limitless knowledge of our Creator, and we lack wisdom as compared to the limitless wisdom of our Creator. And the laws that the human beings make will always be influenced by political parties, groups, influential class, elite class, financial interests, and other social factors. Whereas any law that God is going to legislate for the human being will be above and beyond all these things, because God does not stand in need of anything. When we do something, we do it because we want to achieve certain goals. Whereas God, when He legislates a law, He doesn't stand in need of nothing. So what He would devise for us is not for any reaching a goal or because He's needy, because He would do it for the sake of the success and salvation of His creatures. So we cannot surrender a human being to a fellow human being to make a law for us. Likewise, we cannot surrender a human being to his own self or her own self to make a law. So a law is considered to be a law. A religion is considered to be a religion, a code of life for the humankind, if it can guarantee eternal success. Because the soul is eternal. You have a component in your existence which is eternal. The body is temporary and it will decay. But you are not only a body. When you have a component which is eternal, the laws that your eternal component should obey and follow has to be those kinds of laws which provide eternal salvation and provide benefits eternally to that thing. So we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has said to the Holy Prophet, Surah Nahl, إِنَّكَ لَتُلَقَّ الْقُرْآنَ مِنْ لَدُنْ حَكِيمٍ عَلِيمٍ. You are receiving the Quran from the wise and knowing. So God is all wise and all knowing, and He has the right to reveal the book and teach us what we are supposed to do. Just like, if you buy any gadget, anything, any television. Let's suppose you buy a Panasonic television and you have the brochure. The manufacturer provides a brochure alongside its product. Isn't that right? With all those details written, how you are supposed to deal with this product. The Panasonic Corporation provides a brochure with all the do's and do nots. And the troubleshooting guide with the brochure. So no one can challenge, I have such and such degree from such academic university, from Sorbonne or Oxford or Cambridge or Yale or Harvard, whatever. So I don't stand in need of Panasonic Corporation dictating me what am I supposed to do with this television. You would never find somebody giving that sort of silly remark. Isn't that right? Because the Panasonic Corporation knows its product best because it's the manufacturer. Isn't that right? So we find we human beings are the product of God. Let the Creator decide what benefits us and what harms us. Nothing outrageous, absolutely logical. So they say that the human being doesn't come with an instruction manual. But that's exactly what the Holy Quran is. That's exactly what the Bible was, the real Bible. That's exactly what the real Torah was, which we respect, and we must respect all of those great books sent down by God. So Allah has said in the Holy Quran, Surah Anfal, استجيبوا يا أيها الذين آمنوا استجيبوا لله وللرسول إذا دعاكم لما يحييكم. O you who believe, respond positively to the call of God and the Messenger when He calls you towards something that gives you life. So in Islam, we understand that the teachings brought from the unseeable world, where the humankind has zero access to the divine domain of the unseeable world, because in Islam we believe there are several worlds. So people of this world think, the materialists think that this is the end of life, that's it. There was nothing before it and there shall be nothing after this world. So they are missing out big time on the realities. In Islam we believe in several awalim, several worlds. There were several stages of life before our creation in this world, and there are several stages of life even during this world, and there shall be several stages of life after we pass away from this world. So the religion of God is so beautiful that it gives us a totally different world view, so that we can start seeing ourselves at the first stage with a different perspective. So istajibu lillahi wa lirrasul idha da'akum lima yuhyikum. So basically, divine teachings give us life. Life is of, animals are also living, plantations are also living. So we find, that the plantations have growth, rushd and numu, and growth, but they cannot move. Whereas the animals, this class of existences, the animals, also have growth in them, but they also have his and harakat. They have the senses and they have movements, which makes it superior to the plantations. Animals can move around and they have the senses. Whereas the human beings are superior to the earlier two classes of existences, the plantations and the animals, because in addition to growth and in addition to the senses and capability to move around, the humans also have aql, intellect, and fitrat, which means instinct. Now, having reached that stage that we understand that we the human beings are superior to animals and plantations, because in addition to growth and movement and senses, which we share with some of the earlier classifications of existences, we also have intellect which they don't have. And we also have a fitrat, which we call a fitrat al-tawhidiyya, an instinct which is ingrained in our existence. And that fitrat, that instinct of the human, and that aql and intellect in its pure form, untainted by the human desires and whims and wishes, is something which is common, uniformly found in all the human beings from the earlier generations and the later generations without a difference. Now that we understand that all the human beings have the same instinct and intellect as common, so the religion which can serve their purpose, their goal of creation, their goal of life, has to be one as well. Because the religion can be something that serves your instinct and serves your intellect and is in sync with your intellect and it's in sync with your instinct and fitrat. Any religion which is against the intellect cannot be accepted. Any religion which is against the human instinct cannot be accepted. Humans have a body and a soul. Body has different requirements and needs and different lifestyles that the human have been adopting since the beginning. You find that humans used to live in caves, and later on they transferred into the houses. Earlier the humans used to wear sheepskins or whatever, leather to protect themselves. Now you have all those different kinds of high-tech dresses and Gore-Tex waterproof breathable dresses available. Isn't that right? In earlier days they used to walk on foot or on camels and mules and donkeys. Right now we have airplanes and shuttle. Isn't that right? So these means of means that we have been adopting for our body has been differing throughout the passage of time, but the instinct of a human can never change. La tabdila li khalqi Allah. Quran has clearly announced the fitrat. We understand in the light of this verse that the fitrat of Islam, of a human being, the instinct of the human is unchangeable. La tabdila li khalqi Allah. And because the fitrat and instinct is unchangeable, the religion which can serve one uniform instinct of all the human beings and one uniform intellect of all the human beings has to be one, because Tawheedul Kathir and Taksirul Wahid are impossible things in philosophy. One cannot be multiple, and multiplicity of one and oneness of multiples are impossible in philosophy. So now that this much has been made clear, the next step to understand is that the source is also one, which is God. And one source cannot ask multiple agendas. There's no way one God can ask the human beings, his creatures, to do multiple things. If there were multiple sources from where the prophets came, it makes sense that prophets would have been inviting the people towards multiple agendas. Since the source is one, which is God, every prophet came from the same God, on behalf of the same God, representing the same God. Since the source is one, so the message has to be one as well. And that's precisely in Islam. We believe that all the prophets of God, in the Deen and Allah Islam, God has the one religion, which is Islam, and all the prophets were Muslims. مَا كَانَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ يَهُودِيًّا وَلَا نَصْرَانِيًّا وَلَكِنْ حَنِيفًا مُسْلِمًا. Ibrahim was neither a Yehudi or Nasrani, but actually he was a Muslim. So all the prophets, Jesus was a Muslim, may peace be upon him. Moses was a Muslim, may peace be upon him. And all the prophets of God were Muslims, inviting towards God for the same agenda. When it came to our holy prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the teachings of Islam were uniform. Minor differences of the code of Sharia because of the evolution taking place according to the needs and the capabilities of the human beings, which are evolving and updating constantly. Minor changes in the Sharia kept on happening, but the essence and the mainstream teachings were all the same. Prayers and fasting and Hajj, pilgrimage to Mecca and hijab and all those things were all the same. You find even today, you go and find all those paintings of Virgin Mary everywhere, almost every other painting you find her head is covered. Isn't that right? So you find the dresses that all those sisters and nuns wear are almost the same, similar to the concept of hijab that we have. So basically, Islam was one Islam. It was one religion promoted by everybody. And when it came to the Holy Prophet, we respect all the prophets of God. We believe in all of them and their teachings. We believe that our Holy Prophet is just the seed of all the prophets and the most superior of all. And he has mentioned in his own hadith and tradition that بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I have been sent down to take the great morals to its perfection, to exalted character to its perfection. So he took the same moral teachings of Islam to its peak and summit, because he is the most highest. And there are 4 important obligations that the Prophet had, which I would like to mention quickly and move forward. The first obligation that the Prophet had is taqwiyatul aql, strengthening of the intellect of the human beings. We have desires piling up, our whims and wishes crushing the call of intellect. So despite the fact that all the humans have intellect, but they still stand in need of the prophets of God because of our desires. What happens is that our desires drag us towards sins and our egos and whims and desires. So these drag us towards the sins, and instead of obeying the Creator, we start obeying what we like to do, what we want to do. We start deciding on our own what we like. We want to do it because we like it. Whether our Creator likes that for us, for our eternal success or not, becomes irrelevant. So when this kind of situation happens, actually the aql and intellect of a human is still there. It can never be killed, or what happens is it's crushed by the desires. So the job of the prophets of God is to remove the pile of desires which are covering up the human intellect, so that the intellectualism surfaces up. Because the definition of intellect has also been defined in the hadith that Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam has said, Al-aqlu ma ubida bihir rahman. Aql is something, intellect is something with which you obey Rahman. So no one can say, well, I'm doing the sin because my intellect is guiding me towards doing that sin. It's incorrect. We do sins because my desires are misguiding me towards the sins. And I'm ignoring the call of my quote-unquote aql, intellect, which is created by God, the Creator, to take me towards His obedience. So I'm not doing His obedience, I'm doing what I want to do. That's not His obedience. So I'm misusing my capabilities, and I'm not using my aql and intellect. And that's maybe one of the reasons why Islam has prohibited everything that harms your aql, starting from intoxicants, everything that impairs your thinking power, even though it may be for a while, drugs, getting addicted to any kind of drugs, love and la'ib, all those unacceptable kinds of music and things which actually engage the person and makes him or her ghafil and ignorant away from his intellectual or her intellectual responsibility towards the Creator. So anything and everything that impairs your intellectualism is not permissible in Islam. So Islam wants your aql and intellect to be remaining in the pure form, untainted. And the second job of the Prophet and all the prophets of God is teaching us akhlaq and morals. Islam is a religion of morality. Your prayers and fasting, your behavior towards your God comes later on. What's your behavior towards your fellow human beings? Prophet was very particular about this. The way he used to behave towards non-Muslims. Best of the morals. We need to have best of etiquettes when we deal with our fellow human beings who do not share the same belief system with us. We need to respect them. We need to honor them. We need to treat them with love and respect and morals. That's how our Prophet used to promote Islam. Remember the famous story which you must have heard about already, when there was that Jewish neighbor who used to throw garbage on the head of the Holy Prophet every morning when he used to come out of his house. I was thinking if we were there in the place of the Holy Prophet and somebody throwing garbage on my top of my head, we could possibly go and just sue the person. Isn't that right? We can file a petition against him. Prophet never said a word. Not even a word of complaint against that person. Till the time arrived that one day when Prophet came out of his house and he found that this person is no longer there to throw garbage on his head. And Prophet inquired from his companion and they told him that the guy is sick. Prophet said, "You're going to go. We will go to, I'll go and pay a visit." Prophet, they came, the door was knocked. His wife came out and Prophet said, "Who's there?" Prophet says, "It's me, Rasulullah, Ana Rasulullah." She kept the Prophet waiting at the door and rushed to her husband first. And she said to her husband, "You know who came to pay a visit and inquire about your well-being? The same Prophet of Muslims upon whom you used to throw garbage daily." And he said to his wife that, "Well, first bring me a bed sheet so that I can cover my face so I don't end up having eye contact with him because I'm feeling so embarrassed." And she did the same. She brought a bed sheet and this guy covered his face, and then the Prophet was allowed to enter the house. He came and he sat. He came there and he inquired about the health of that person. And he was, he came there to inquire about the health of the person. And he said, "Well, before I even talk to you, please teach me for the sake of Prophet Abraham, for the sake of Prophet Ismail, for the sake of Prophet Moses, for the sake of Prophet Jesus, please first teach me how can I embrace your religion, Islam." That's how the Holy Prophet spread Islam, not by the power of sword. And those are the people who think like that, they have nothing to do with the teachings of the Holy Prophet. Islam is a religion of love and morals. And we find when the daughter of Hatim al-Ta'i, she was also part of the warring machine against Islam. Prophet never initiated a war in his life. All those 72 or 73 wars that were fought in the time of the Holy Prophet were defensive in nature. He had the right to wage a strike, the preemptive strike given by Allah. This right was given by God to the Prophet. He didn't use his right. All the wars were waged by the disbelievers and pagans against the Prophet of Islam, and he defended. So she was part of the daughter of Hatim al-Ta'i, was part of the warring machine. She also got captured in the war when she was brought to the city of Medina, which was the capital of the first Islamic government of the Holy Prophet. We find she started to talk to the Holy Prophet in Medina and said that my dad, that means Hatim al-Ta'i, was a safi person, a generous person. Generosity is deeply appreciated and one of the very high morals in Islam. As soon as she said that, Prophet said to some of those companions and ashab who were there taking care of the captives, Prophet said, "Khallu anha, fa inna abaha mimma," leave her, set her free, because her father, mimman yuhibbu makarim al-akhlaq, because her father was one of those who loves the high morals. Just because her father was generous in his behavior, in his morality, Prophet is setting free his daughter who was part of the warring machine, and she is a captive. And so this is how Prophet was. That's how he used to promote Islam. And when at the occasion of the victory of Mecca, we find that one of the companions of the Prophet raised the voice, "Al-Yawm Yawmul Malhama." Today is the day of massacre. That means now is the time we will take revenge from all those idol worshippers who threw us out from the city of Mecca, and we end up migrating from Mecca, our hometown, towards Medina. Now that we are coming back victorious into the city of Mecca, today is the day of revenge. When Prophet heard that statement, he sent somebody to go and say to that person, "Al-Yawm Yawmul Marhama." Today is the day of mercy. And Prophet forgave everyone in the city of Mecca who was supposed to be forgiven. So this is how we find the Holy Prophet was in his morals. He never picked up any tree or any branch of it. They never used to cut any tree or uproot any tree. He never killed any animal. You know, of course, if you are slaughtering a halal meat animal for eating and consuming, that's a different thing. But otherwise, unnecessarily killing an animal just for the sake of fun, Prophet never did that. He didn't used to kill any human being, never injured any human being. And we find, well, there is no room in Islam for collateral damage, how they say in today's terminology. You know, lots of civilians have been killed, are being killed, day in and day out, by some of those people who talk about freedoms and democracies. But the civilians are targeted. In Islam, there is no room for any collateral damage. You cannot kill any woman, you cannot kill any child, you cannot burn any plantation in the law of the Holy Prophet, you cannot damage the property of the people, you cannot even kill a man if he lays down the weapon. You cannot torture any captive. There is no room for any kind of torture towards the captives in Islam. Captives need to be treated with respect and dignity. So Islam doesn't allow these kinds of, unjustifiable, unacceptable, and sometimes even shameful behaviors towards captives. What we saw in Gitmo and what we witnessed in Abu Ghraib prison is something that basically no human being can think of. Those crimes taking place in today's world. And the third job of the Holy Prophet is knowledge. Islam is a religion that promotes science, supports science and knowledge and seeking knowledge. Our Prophet has already said, "Utlubul ilma min al-mahd ila-al-lahd," seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. And even if the captives in those wars, if anybody knew how to read and write and can teach another fellow person how to read and write, that captive would have been set free from captivity because he taught another person how to read and write. How much emphasis had been laid in Islam in teaching and knowledge and learning. And the fourth job is the hidayat and guidance towards nur and the divine light. And I still have 5 minutes to go, and I would like to very quickly mention some important points which are considered to be specifically found in the religion Islam with all that emphasis. First of all, the religion Islam is the religion of dalil and evidence when it comes to our belief system. No Muslim, nobody is supposed to believe in the religion without evidences, not just because you are born to such and such parents. This is unacceptable. You got to have concrete intellectual evidences for everything that you believe in. There is no room for blind following of anybody, including your parents. Islam is a religion of evidences and dalil. The second thing about Islam is the religion of ubudiyyat and worship of God. That means we submit ourselves towards the divine command of our Lord. And third of all, Islam is the religion of haqq and truthfulness. So in Islam and Islamic teachings of the Holy Prophet, majority is not authority. What is true and right is authority. Sometimes the majority can be wrong, isn't that right? And it happens several times in the human history. So you need to have evidence for what you do, the policy you adopt, the lifestyle you follow, the line of action that you tread. You need to have evidence for that. It has to be haqq and true. Not just saying, and goals never justify the means. Just like the communists used to say, in their own heydays, that even if you can, for the sake of a good cause, you can kill 100,000 people, let's suppose, it's okay. Because the goal is good. In Islam, the goals never justify the means. Every step of the way has to be in sync with the human rights, in sync with the Islamic teachings, and nothing should be against the human dignity, and nothing should be against the righteousness. And fourth of all, the significant aspect of the teachings of the Holy Prophet is the values. Islam is a package of values. Shuja'at, shahamat, karamat, iffat, haya, ghairat, taqwa, wara, zuhud. All those beautiful Islamic values, respecting your parents, respecting your neighbors, respecting your guests, your behavior towards each other, your morality, your reason, your conscience. Beautiful and morality is something which is fundamental in Islam, and that has the highest level of importance. I don't care what some of those Muslims, so-called Muslims, may be doing out there, those evil Taliban or evil Al-Qaeda or whatever evil people. We have nothing to do with the Holy Prophet and his teachings, and nothing to do with Islam whatsoever. We don't care about what they are doing. I mean, there are some bad people in every community. You can never generalize. Just because we have a Timothy McVeigh, we cannot say all the Oklahoma citizens are terrorists. Isn't that right? So we cannot say all the Christians are terrorists because of Timothy McVeigh, or because of what Hitler was a Christian. So the history says 16 million humans were killed in the Second World War. We cannot say all the Christians are bad because of Hitler. We cannot generalize like this. When we are talking about the religion, let's keep what some of the so-called followers of that religion have been doing, whether in the name of the religion or without using the name, but what some so-called followers have been doing in the name of the religion, we cannot relate that behavior to the religion itself, because we are talking about what the religion says. When we are talking about the religion, we have to discuss what the Prophet of God, who is the representative of the religion, has done and practiced and promoted. There may be people out, anytime you can possibly find people, bad guys available in different faiths, and you can find, and basically what they are doing is condemned and has nothing to do with the Prophet has said and promoted.